Bienvenidos y welcome to the Biz Bruja podcast, where we're claiming our powerful intuition, our sacred medicina, embracing our magic and healing ancestral patterns, invoke powerful creations in our own well-being, our lives, familias, community, and our businesses. Remembering that our businesses are so important at this time. I'm the creatrix of this blogcast, the Biz Bruja herself, Vanessa Codorniu, a modern-day bruja, fourth-generation psychic medium, clinical hypnotist, energy healer, and soul biz mentor and coach. An Argentine-American who started reading adults at 16, became a professional intuitive at 22, and now guides creatives, intuitives, healers, and entrepreneurs to break through fears, connect to the practical power of their intuition so they can serve the world powerfully. Hola, mi gente hermosa. Bienvenidos. I am so excited to have this beautiful lady that I met online and I've met in person at We All Grow Latina Conference Summit. Please open your hearts for Ana Lilia. Ana Lilia, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Vanessa. I am thrilled to be here with you.
Yeah. So folks, I've wanted to get around for a bit, but we're all busy, we're all doing the things. Before we get into this conversation that I'm so excited about, I do want to read her bio, or a bit of her bio. I will include it, of course, in the episode information, but I think it's always great to know what Ana Lilia does and then to hear her story throughout our session. Ana Lilia is a celebrated manifestation, mindset coach, and breathwork coach. She is passionate about helping people tap into their full potential by using their breath as a powerful, transformative tool. Anna's expertise lies in assisting individuals to break free from limiting beliefs and aligning themselves with their deepest goals and desires. With her personalized healing journeys that include breathwork, intuitive guidance, and energy healings, Anna has helped thousands of people achieve their dreams. With her vast knowledge and years of experience, Anna has been recognized by various publications such as NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, Los Angeles Times, Harper's Bazaar. Her unique approach to healing and transformation has made her a sought-after coach and mentor in the wellness community. She's also the host of the broadcast Breathe More. And of course, I'm going to include all the information, Instagram, the website below. Ana Lilia, me encantaría saber, I would love to know, what is your background, the story of your family? Where were you raised, and how did you first awaken to this work and to maybe who you are spiritually, maybe what you're meant to do?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Napa, California. My parents are immigrants from Mexico, and I'm the oldest daughter. So I have 3 younger sisters. My childhood, there's a lot of beautiful things, but there was also a lot of hardship, similar to so many immigrant families, right? Where struggling with poverty, with just basic necessities like food insecurity. My dad also struggles with alcoholism. And so that was a big part of my younger years, my formative years of navigating such a chaotic and unstable household. And so with that, luckily at a certain point in my childhood, my dad did get sober, but the patterns still continued. And so with that, I realized in my early 20s that I was starting to develop these physical symptoms in my body that I didn't know what to attribute to. For example, I had digestive issues. At night, I would grind my teeth. I started to develop these nervous tics where I would catch myself like counting on my fingers. I noticed that I was hypervigilant and I didn't trust my judgment. I would leave my house and then my mind would have these catastrophic thoughts of oh my gosh, did I leave the stove on? And I would literally drive back to make sure that it was turned off, and it was always turned off. And so I was like, this is strange, but I don't know what this is. But also I didn't even know that this was something that you sought help over. I didn't know who to go to or what to do. So as I continue just in my 20s, kind of struggling, and my survival mechanisms and patterns that kept me alive and safe when I was young were starting to create conflict as an adult. And that's when my partner at the time suggested, I think you should do therapy for, your childhood and just all of that. And It wasn't until actually my early 30s that I came around to do it, because similar to so many people, like, I don't have the money, I don't have the time. Like, I was working as an actress in commercials and literally just like living paycheck to paycheck, had these side hustles where I was working as a promo girl on the weekends and babysitting and just like doing anything I could to go after the dream, right? Of being an actress. And then also I wanted to do TV hosting at the time. So it wasn't until I finally started therapy, and luckily I was really fortunate to find a therapist that not only she does psychotherapy, a very specific form of psychotherapy, but it brings in the body into the therapy. So as I was recalling memories, she was asking me, well, how does your body feel right now? What part of your body wants to do something? Like, how are your legs? Or notice sensations. And so that allowed me to connect the trauma that my body was holding as well, and recognize, like, oh, these are these physical symptoms that I'm feeling. Like, this is anxiety. This is trauma that hasn't been fully processed. And again, I had no idea that this was what I was feeling and experiencing, because my symptoms, how I was behaving, how my mind was thinking, was exactly the same as my family. So it was normalized for me. Like, this is just how we are, right? And it wasn't until I started to open up and be vulnerable with people that I realized, oh, not all families are this way. Oh, not everybody struggles to fall asleep at night or has like stomach pains after they eat. So that was my beginning of like embarking on my healing journey in a more traditional way. Shortly after, that's when all these other teachers started to come through, and my friends who I didn't know were into spirituality. I didn't even know what spirituality was. Like, my only experience with it was being raised a Catholic, but I had my falling out with it when I was 18 and just started to question and felt betrayed. And so I had a really hard time after that praying, like even saying the word God, like all of my foundational, like my beliefs, like it just felt like it shattered, and I didn't know what to believe in anymore. And so I went to the other extreme of like, I don't believe in anything, like everything's a lie. But with this healing journey that I started to go on, and my friends were introducing me to healers, which again, what is a healer? I had no idea what a healer was. And I'm a very curious person, so I just decided to go. And I couldn't believe that this stranger was able to reflect back to me, tell me like how I was feeling, what I was struggling with, what I experienced. And so it made me feel very seen. It made me feel validated in my experience. And I started to feel hopeful again, that what I was feeling, what I had experienced, no longer needed to be part of who I am or how I saw life, or it didn't have to be part of my future. Like, I could rewrite my journey. Like, I didn't have to be a victim anymore. My inner child could feel safe now. Like, she can count on me to protect her. And the beautiful thing with that is, as I was learning and experiencing these modalities, I was excited to share it with my family, but they weren't ready for it. And so I tell a lot of my clients that I work with that it is normal to experience a loneliness, a deep grief that happens because our relationships do change. And we're creating a disruption. I created a disruption in my family dynamic and what we have been playing out for generations. And so now unconsciously, I was being seen as a threat. So that meant that I was no longer included things. They stopped telling me things. Like, I found out a long time ago. And that was like really hurtful. I was like, oh my gosh, like already I felt like the black sheep. And now even more so, I felt like I was being banished. And it took some years for them to slowly, like a sister by sister, started to like ask me questions, or they wanted to maybe also participate. And so now we are in a place where we're able to have different types of conversations, but so much of the trauma is still there because, again, the majority of the family members haven't done healing or therapy or awareness work, right? But the reason why I want to share this is that because you do the work and you start to show up differently and you start to create boundaries for yourself and you start to advocate for yourself, there is a shift that happens. And so little by little, there is healing as well that happens within our family dynamic and our family members. And so it's a beautiful gift if one decides to go on this courageous journey of healing ourselves, that it not only impacts ourselves, but it impacts our community as well.
Ana Lilia, thank you for sharing that. I agree with what you just said, that if we decide to do it, it impacts all of us. I love that you were so just authentically open and willing to share so much, because I think, like, I totally related to what you said. My family was very spiritual and we did limpias, and there were readers and intuitives in the family who didn't read outside but read inside the family. But that didn't mean that they weren't dysfunctional.
Right.
That didn't mean that they didn't have, like, issues because of lack of language or working 3 jobs, not being home enough, all of the things that we go through. And I'm an older sister as well, and all of the stress. And I love that you shared it that way, because I think as older sisters, and even just children of immigrants, we're always trying to, like, figure it out, make it up, handle it in our way. And our parents, our family may not be able to guide us, right, to the healers or the therapists, or the guidance that we need. In my case, my mom would take us to healers and they would do limpias and things, and she would do it. But when I wanted a therapist, they wouldn't give it to me because they were terrified that I'd go talk about what was happening in the family, right? Because they were fighting all the time.
Yeah.
And with 4 kids, were the kids going to be taken away? Like, what was going to happen?
Right.
So these are real life challenges that we've been through and that people may still be going through, where you want to change things, but you could be seen as, my dad would be like, you're the troublemaker. I went from, like, the older daughter who won everything and was, like, the honor roll and all that, and the one who figured everything out, to now I'm a black sheep because I'm bringing up new ideas, which is, like, what I'm hearing from you. And that happens to us. And I think, and with time, it got better. So I love to hear that with time, your sisters and your family, although there's still trauma because most are not doing the work.
Yeah.
When did you realize that you went from someone who was working on yourself, right? Because I went through that too. I knew I was intuitive from baby and all that. I mean, from, like, childhood, and started reading people at 16. But this was not a life path for me. This is not what I wanted to do for a living. That was like, oh yeah, es un don, it's a gift. But when did you realize, like, when did you become the person who was just working on herself and healing to, oh, this is also my life calling, right?
Yeah. So I think it was when I had my first breathwork class, and that was 10 years ago. And again, at the time, I was exploring different modalities and going to different healers, all while still doing therapy. And I think, given my upbringing and just given the role of taking care of people and helping to protect people as well, it's something that I love. Like, it fills my heart. But I found that the way I had been doing it was not healthy. And a lot of times it manifested in being interpreted as I'm being controlling or I'm being pushy. And so this natural gift, whether I was born with it or developed given my circumstances, it was something that was viewed as negative. And I'm like, well, there's still so much of me that really wants to make a positive impact on people's lives and the planet. And so when I came across breath work, I was blown away. I couldn't believe that I was laying on the ground and I was told to breathe in a certain pattern. And all of a sudden, my body involuntarily was moving, like I was crying. I had all these physical sensations. But afterwards, I felt amazing. I felt so light. I felt like the depression cloud that had been in my life for years had been lifted. And I always tell people, like, literally the colors outside look brighter. I'm like, what just happened? Like, I was just breathing, something that our body does naturally. But all of a sudden, I was conscious of how I was breathing and manipulating my breath. And then I was having this, like, breakthrough. Whoa, this is amazing. So I continued to do it for myself, but then it did get to a point where I'm like, I saw a teacher that I was attending to, like her mentor and teacher was offering a certification training program. And so I just decided to take it. And this was 9 years ago. And again, kind of similar to you, it's like, I'm not looking to make this into a business or anything. Like, I just want to go deeper into the practice, but let me share it with my friends. And so after the first training that I did, the following weekend, I invited all my actor friends. I'm like, hey, do you guys want to come over and breathe? And they're like, what are you talking about, breathe? I'm like, trust me, it's like meditation. It's like this healing thing, but come join. So I had 4 people join. They brought their pets as well. So that was my first breathwork experience that I had, like in holding space for folks. And I mean, I was nervous. I'm like, literally, I just got my training last week and now I'm doing it. But that's how quickly I work. Like, I don't waste time. Like, if there's something that I'm excited about and want to share with people, I put it out there right away. And so that's what I did. They had breakthroughs as well and experience. And I just decided to continue holding these circles for my community for free. Then it got to the point where they were like growing on their own. And I'm like, all right, I need to at least ask for a donation, like something. And then, like, for so many folks, when you start to shed old identities and trauma responses, and you're really being and showing up in the world as your authentic self, whole self, well, the stuff that you used to do starts to not feel aligned, and there starts to become tension. And so that's what I was experiencing with my acting. I mainly did acting for commercials and did print work and stuff like that. And so it no longer felt right to have my image used for brands that I didn't believe in, for brands that I thought were causing like bad stuff in the world, right? And then it became a little awkward when I was on TV for a whatever commercial. And then my students would reach out. They're like, did we just see you in a commercial for fill in the blank? And I'm like, oh yeah, that was me. They thought it was cool. But for me, I thought, it's not sitting well anymore. Like, I'm not as excited. Also, the process of how one gets a job, I hated it. And so I found that I didn't give it up though, because there was still a scarcity mentality there. And also I was still so much attached to that identity because I had been doing it for, 12 years. And I was considered successful in that specific niche. Like, all the casting directors knew me. I had a great agent and you can make decent money, in union commercials. And so part of me was like, well, I mean, let me just do it, continue doing it on the side as I grow. And then like literally set the intention, like, no, this is what I want to do. I want to grow my practice, my breathwork business, and share with more people and really make an impact. So what ended up happening is that I started to get less and less auditions. I started to book less because also whenever I would get the notice to audition, I would get annoyed. I'd be like, this is such a waste of my time. I don't want to do this. Well, guess what? Whenever you have these thoughts, whether you're aware of it or not, energetically, that's leaving an imprint in whatever work you're doing. I always tell my clients too, like when they're looking for a job and they're just submitting their resume to everything. And I'm like, is that really what you want to do? And then they wonder like why they're not getting the interview, right? And they're like, no, I don't. And I'm like, right. So that's why you're not getting the response. So I started to become even more intentional with how I was living my life. And then that required that I had to make the difficult decision of closing those energy leaks. And it got to a point where the acting became an energy leak. Like, it wasn't serving me. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't even working. So I sent out the email to my agents, thanking them for all the years, but my business is now thriving and I really solely want to focus on that. Also, I set the intention for myself, like, I still want to work with brands, but brands that I'm aligned with, right? Like, and I want it to be easy. I want them to come to me. and say like, we want to work with you, let's work together. And so that's what's been happening too, right? Where like my training of all these years, because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that too, of like, I invested so much in this career. I got the degree, I developed the relationships, I got the promotions, and now I'm going to quit to follow my passion. Like, that's crazy. But it all is connected. And those skills that you have from your current job or the old job really do translate in what you're looking to do next, what your soul is like nudging you to go after. And so that's what I have found. Like, I'm so grateful for all of that training because it has definitely supported me as a soulful entrepreneur. And, you know, last December, I got this cachava. It's like a plant-based protein powder. They wanted to record some mindfulness meditations for the holiday time. And so they hired me to record these pieces. And it was challenging. Like, if I didn't have the training, it would have been difficult to execute in a successful way, if you will. And so I did really well. I was so grateful. And I'm like, thank you, universe. Like, this is like a little wink of like, listen, it's not all gone. Like, you still enjoy also being in front of the camera. It can happen, but it's going to happen in a different way. So it's been quite the journey.
I love that. I love that so much. And, you know, I really believe that whatever pathway we go down, that there's always skills that we're developing. Like at some point when I was managing like events and I was managing people, events, I was a coordinator, I was in Telemundo speaking Spanish, then I was here, then I was there, the red carpet, like I was doing these things where I had to do a lot of things quickly. That's been my business too. So I love that you brought that up, that these skills and these trainings. And it's much easier if you've already had an acting background to even be here on a podcast, to be interviewed in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, I love that. So nothing is ever wasted. We will bring our gifts forward and they just will appear in a different way. Once you started working in person, what was there a pivot? Did something happen that led you to work online? Because I started working online in 2012, just because Spirit was telling me to. I had already rented space earlier. I'd already done things for free for years. And then that changed my life. There was no Zoom back then. There was Skype for one-on-one, but then I had to teach on conference calls. So it was very different. You didn't see anybody. What led you to go online?
Well, it was a struggle. Like, I was putting it out there for people that I'm doing classes now virtually. This is before the pandemic, but people were really resistant to it. It's like, no, we want to be in person with you, or not just with me, but with someone, where they felt that it was a better experience or more healing or more powerful. But nonetheless, I still continue to offer these, and because I wanted more people outside of just my little, not that LA is little, but my little community to be able to know about this. And also social media helps, you know, with the amplification of that. But as I mentioned, it was tricky to actually then get them to attend online classes. But a few of them did show up. And then with the pandemic, like, that forced everyone. It's like, well, do you want to interact with people? Then you have to hop online, right? So that actually benefited me, where I already knew how to host a breathwork class on Zoom, like how to use the different settings and stuff. Where like, if I was looking at my colleagues, like, they were struggling, they shut down. They were like, oh my gosh, I guess I have to shut down my business. And I'm like, no, you just have to pivot. So that's something that also I feel like I'm really great at. And so when I started my work, it was focused more on helping people manage their stress and anxiety and healing from past traumas, very much reflective of where I was in my healing journey, right? And then since then, it has definitely evolved, where now I use those techniques that I used for helping people to heal from past trauma to help them align their mindset, their unconscious belief, with the type of life that they want in their life. And so from there, it has evolved into mentoring people. I have a mastermind where I help people manifest their desires. But again, like, we got to look at, I always tell my clients, I'm like, it's so easy. I can give you the blueprint. I can give you the strategy. I can tell you exactly what steps to take. That's the easy part. But there's a reason why you haven't already done there. what are the beliefs? What are the stories? What are the identities you're still attached to that's preventing you from taking those steps? And so that's the work that I really love doing right now, of like helping untangle, helping them shine lights. Like, well, your inner child doesn't feel safe to use your voice. So how are you expecting you to show up on Instagram and like talk about your services and offerings if your whole life up until recently you were told to be quiet, or that what you had to say didn't matter? And so I help them heal from that, or just even the awareness of it, so that they also learn how to regulate themselves, connect with their inner child, like comfort them. I'm all about empowering people. It's like, I want you to take these tools and then do it for yourself. And then from there, I help them then go after their dream job or launch that business idea that they had or whatever. It's been beautiful work. And so I work with all types of people. And that's the beauty of the internet, that it does allow us to be in touch and connected with people all over the world. And I love the diversity, because at the end of the day, we're all humans and we all struggle with so many different things. We think that we're so different and that they're not going to understand. But once we put down our guard and start to open up our hearts and tell our story, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's the exact same experience. Similar to how you were sharing, right? It's like I had a lot of similar things growing up in my childhood. And so then with that as well, it just brings so much compassion and love and understanding. And it's something that the world needs so desperately right now.
I love hearing you speak. I'm like totally on your vibe right now. And I'm like, how we all do this work in different ways. I do hypnosis to shift mindsets, and you're using the work that you're using your tools. And it is so true. And it doesn't matter where we're at, right? It doesn't matter if we're starting out and we're 18 and we have anxiety, or we're a mom of four and we're like, how do I go back into the workplace? It doesn't matter. I realized recently, at least in the last few years, my whole ask was always like, let me support myself and let me be able to make an impact on people, etc. And so I supported myself for my first year online, and I was location free. I was in Panama, Costa Rica in 2012, 2013. But then it's like, why am I just keeping myself with? It's just fine to support myself. And but I mean support, there's still six figures and double six figures, because after taxes and after, investments, all the things. But it's like I said, oh, there's a safety, and oh, soy una persona buena. I'm a good person. I don't need that much. Six figures is good, maybe a little over six figures. There's people hungry in the world. So I realized for myself, like my mindset of, oh, I'm going to keep it, and how I was associating having a lot of money with not being a good person, because that's a lot of the, I have like agreements where I've had to sign confidentiality.
Yep, same.
Working with millionaires and billionaires, where I've seen things and heard things. And not everybody is like that, right? Not everybody is narcissistic or self-centered or selfish. And we find that in any area of society. And so recently, I was sat there and I'm like, why not go bigger? Why not ask for, I feel like what I've achieved is big for me, right? Like saying I've supported myself for 12 years online. I've traveled. I found my partner later in life, married him. We bought a house during the time when everybody passed away. Like all the things happened. But it's like, well, what more? And so I just wanted to share that bit of the story of my end, of even when you're successful in your business or in your career or whatever, even if you've found the love late in life, even if you've done things, there could still be spaces within where you're like, it's okay, I'll stay a little like small here, or a little, and then stepping into that. So I think you're an amazing guide for that. I'm excited. What are some of the things that you are inviting yourself to step into this year, if you want to share?
Yeah, speaking to like playing bigger, absolutely, definitely. And so within my own business, I've been changing some offerings to align now more in the direction that I want to go into. I've been continue to invest in myself. Like I just did an Instagram post yesterday of like, get to know me a little bit. And one of the things, like two things that I splurge on. my personal development. Like I spend so much money on coaches and healers and therapy and body work and all of that. And then also I love fine dining. So Michelin star restaurants. But yeah, it's like, okay, I have so many people recently like saying, hey, just as an aside, right? Like they send me a DM like, by the way, like, I hope that one day you write a book. Or like, I have this coach reach out. It's like, oh, I would love to guide you to write a book. And I'm like, yeah. Like I can feel it within my soul. It's like, yeah, that's part of the plan. But again, I'm also someone where I have to do it like with intention, not just because I feel like, oh, I can, but rather it's like, why? Why do I want to do that? And I feel like that helps to keep our ego in check. Like our ego is there for a reason, right? But it really matters to me to share my heart, to be authentic. And I've never been the person who does something because it's going to be easy to sell. Like my business could be even bigger if I had decided that I'm going to certify people in doing breath work. Because people ask me to do that, but it's not in my heart. Like no me sale de corazón. It's like, it's a tool that I use, but I want a bigger impact, right? And then I get a little like jealous, maybe a little bit of jealous or like a little like, when I see other people doing it. And I'm like, they're just doing it for the quick cash. But again, like we can compare, we can like look at other people, what they're doing. But I always come back to, well, if you want that, if you're feeling jealous of that, that's accessible to you too. You can do it. Right. But I don't want to, right? Because I can't fake it. I can't just do something because it's there. And so it's just continuing to be authentic and listen to like, how else can I be of service, or just creating the space. Like I recently moved from Los Angeles. I've been there for 19 years. And now I'm in a small mountain town near Palm Springs in California, where the population is not even 3,000 people. So it's like a really big, like now my neighbors are a bunch of chipmunks and little mice and deer. And one would think, and I did have the thought, my nervous system, my mind was like, oh my gosh, like, no, you need the hustle. You need like the city. You need to be in town in order for you to be successful. No, I don't. And actually the opposite is happening. So since I've moved up here, it's been 4 full months that I've been here. I've had more big companies come to me. I've had to sign NDAs as well, but like asking me to facilitate at their company, collaborations, this and that. So I'm still going to LA for the work, but point being, it's like, I don't have to be there. Like I can be in a place where my spirit is going to thrive and my body's going to heal from like ailments that I've been struggling with for a couple of years. And I need that. Like I need to get simple and quiet and be in nature so that I have the new capacity and space to birth whatever new thing is going to come out of me. And so I don't know, to answer your questions, like I'm not quite sure like what big scary thing I'm stepping into right now. I feel like there's a lot of groundwork and restructuring and building a new foundation for the bigger life. And that's part of the process, right? Where we do have to, it's helpful to integrate the growth that we have had, the successes that we have had, because if not, then our nervous system will be like, wait, no, like this is too much. And unconsciously we'll either self-sabotage or there'll be unexpected expenses that come up that gets our like threshold, our money comfort zone to the level where we have been. And I don't want that. Like I want to continue to grow. And so I feel like right now I'm kind of in the integration / shedding and reworking things so that I can be clear on where I want to go next.
Thank you for sharing all that. And I think that like just hearing you, you already are in the next big thing, which is taking this brave step to leave LA
Yeah.
and like to discover that within yourself that you actually needed that. I was so upset to leave New York City, not happy. I'm in central PA, where I think maybe 8 minutes away there could be farmland. I mean, I'm in a city,
Yeah.
still 8 minutes away there's farmland or there's like a forest or a mountain. And I thought, well, I need the city too. But now, even but it took me years. Like you noticed that in 4 months, it took me years to be like, oh, okay, I do belong here, because it opened up other areas of my life. But it's hard to move from that energy of like this,
The hustling.
slow. But at the same time, I think the nervous system, our nervous system, nuestra salud, like we start to feel, for me, my health got worse out here because of the allergies. We're in a valley. So for me, it was the opposite. My health got worse here. So I've had to like work on it. But now that that's better, I do also appreciate being able to go outside to the land to make an offering and not having to drive anywhere to do it or walk really far. It's basically outside in my backyard or
Mhm.
my front yard. And so it's so important. I love, love, love that for you. And I love how you spoke about how you can't do things just for the quick buck. It's just not in alignment. Every healer that I've talked to who's done the actual work on themselves and who's really shown up in integrity, they can't really do that. Like I can't. Like
Yeah.
people have offered me things. If you did this, you would make money easily. It's passive
Yeah.
income. Put it on your website. You do this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
or people are like, get out. Why are you doing so many one-on-ones? Get an app and just. Somebody suggested that I do an app for readings. I'm like, no. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, there's no algorithm for spirit.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing, but I'd love to hear that from you. What ancestral pattern, I mean, you spoke so much about this anyway, but what ancestral pattern do you think you needed to heal or or alchemize in order to really be who you are today? Hacer el trabajo, to do the work that you do today.
Definitely the money stuff. Because, and I'm still unraveling that. Growing up poor, like my mom is so fearful of money, and she has a really loud, because she shares it constantly, opinion about how the wealthy people are bad people. And I feel like if you watch telenovelas, like that is ingrained in the telenovelas as well, right?
Yeah.
And so it's so in that. And so I really struggled with, there was like literal fear. I remember I had one commercial where I made over $100,000. And literally, it felt like every single day I was getting checks, because when you work a commercial that's a union commercial, you get paid every time it airs. And so I was constantly getting checks. At the time, I was working with a hypnotherapist. And I told her, I'm like, I'm feeling afraid of this money. I don't know what to do with it. We all think like, if those of us who have struggled with money, if only I had so much more money, like life would be so good. No, you gotta upgrade your mindset and the way you think about things, because you'll win the lottery and it'll go away. So I realized, oh, there's this like fear and panic that's coming up. Like, I don't trust that I know how to hold this money. And so I had to do healing and reprogramming my thoughts around that. Then the other thought that was coming through, my mom isn't going to love me anymore if I become wealthy, because now I'm going to be one of those evil people that she always talks about. This was a real thought that I struggled with for actually a long time. And I would try to like present evidence to my mind of how like, that's not true. Like no matter what, like my mom was going to love me and blah, blah, blah. But I still find myself hiding my success. She'll ask me like, oh, ¿cuánto cobras? O ¿cuánto te salió de, how much did you end up making from my retreat or whatever? And I'll hear judgment from her. Ay, pues es mucho. Oh, like, ¿tanto cobras? And so it's like still being thrown at me. But now I have a shield that literally it's like, sí, porque like people see the value. And also I have to protect myself, right? So there's things that I know she just can't hold it with me. And you know what? That's okay. She hasn't done the work, and it is confusing that at the same time, then she's like hounding me on why am I not a homeowner? It's like, porque las casas en Los Angeles cuestan millones de dólares.
Yeah.
And I don't have that money. But at the same time, you don't want me to make a lot of money and you don't want me to charge. So how am I going to accomplish that goal that you want for me, right? So conflicting. So I've done and continue to do a lot of up leveling with my money mindset and my money beliefs. And interesting enough, similar to you, I have manifested private clients who are billionaires, like influential tech founders. It's insane. And so little me, my inner child is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like I'm holding space for these people. Like they're so successful. They have everything. But again, I go back to, it's just a human that's also hurting. Again, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter the access. Sure, there's benefits to it. I'm not going to diminish that. But at the core, like people are still struggling. People still need help. People who are super successful also have imposter syndrome, also struggle with their confidence, right? And so that's my specialty. That's what I help people to like clear the noise and reconnect with their power, reconnect with their truth. And that has also helped me. Holding space for them has helped me, where it's like the money isn't what makes a person quote good or bad. Really, it's trauma, but and how it manifests and unfolds. But it's not that. And I do like living a certain lifestyle. And I don't like, it's not helping anyone, even in the work that I'm doing, being worried about whether I'm going to be able to pay my rent, being worried about like, oh my gosh, my car just broke down or I need to get a new car, but I can't afford it. I tell my clients, because I mentor a lot of like healers and spiritual people, soulful entrepreneurs. And I'm like, it's not serving your community and your clients for you to be struggling financially. So we can still be accessible to those who maybe can't work with us in our private coaching packages. But like for me, I still have a donation-based breathwork class once a month, right? Where it's like, this is mine. I still have like free meditations all over the internet. I sign up to my newsletter and you'll get content, value, information. So there's still a lot of ways that you can be of service to people, because I know that's a big guilt that a lot of folks have. But it is our birthright to be flourishing, to be thriving, to be abundant, to be wealthy.
Yes.
And especially the more, and I get super passionate about this, I'm like, the more women, the more people of color who have money, we can influence and break these racist systems, because we need people like us in power and making those decisions.
Yes.
So that's like the biggest thing that I've been dismantling.
No, I love you so much. I'm
generational.
I just love you so much. I love your energy. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so happy you're here today, because, I love passion. I love the energy with which you like come through. And that's so key. I just thought of something like it. We've been taught, especially Latinos, to like squash our passion, to be more, you know what I mean, Caucasian gringo who's like calm or whatever. No, our gift is the passion that we have for the thing. And I agree. I think the criticism, whether it's about money, I remember I was telling, my family members are very much trabajando, me rompo la espalda trabajando, all this stuff, right, that I had to heal. And I remember telling them years ago, well, I started improv, whatever. And they're just like, I don't have time for that. Like, they're so busy. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, you don't, I do. I mean, it's just like, or people giving that attitude that if you're a real whatever, that you're going to be always working. And we can work a lot, do a lot of impact, but also we need to live. We need to eat great food. Like, that's one of your things that you love. You want to live I love to travel somewhere. When I went to Cuba, I like to guide people to places too. Massages, healing sessions for ourselves. What good are we if we're not taking care of ourselves? And I like to walk my talk. Hay que caminarlo, hay que hablarlo, hay que ser lo que uno dice que es. Because la energía comunica, right? Energy communicates. what is a ancestral pattern, ancestral gift on don that you lean into with your work?
So it's interesting. Like mi abuelita, this is my mom's mom. She has since passed, but she was a sobadora. So I remember when I was little, she would massage my belly and it was painful. Like it was so painful. And my mom, she also has like psychic dreams. Yet my mom is still very, very Catholic. And so she feels very uncomfortable with the work that I do. Even though, I mean, I am clairvoyant but at the end of the day, a lot of my work is also like very practical. Like it's mindset, it's breath work, like, yet it's hard for her. So it's interesting that like she's afraid of it, yet it's within our lineage too. So it's almost like she doesn't recognize it, or maybe they didn't view that as healing work, like body work. That's powerful stuff. Like a sobadora, like that is physically touching the body to release the trauma, the past experiences, like to bring your body back into alignment, into good health. So I definitely feel, and also my dad, like, so on my dad's side as well. Well, he's very quiet, but he'll sometimes share, like he has his own crystal collection. He calls them mis piedras. Like he loves finding his stones, and like he also connects with angels. And so he's a very sensitive soul. And I believe this is why he has used alcohol as a tool to maybe quiet the information that he was receiving, or just quiet like the noise all around and the anxiety. So I've gotten it from different places, like the intuitive clairvoyant. And then I don't do body work, but I feel like a body worker is also someone who's very intuitive, right? Who communicates with the
Absolutely.
body. And so it's in a different way that it unfolded. So I'm really grateful, but I feel like I am the first one that's like public in my family about this. So they don't really comment on it. It's really interesting. Like they don't ask me about it. It's almost as if it doesn't exist. But I see them watching my stories on Instagram. You know, I see them, some of them who are signed up for my newsletter, opening up my newsletters. And sometimes even like I had a cousin that like was curious to join one of my projects or programs, but she didn't end up doing it. So it's there. But yeah, I'm grateful. I feel like all of us, we probably have a story like this. And even if you don't, like these gifts, everybody can have access to them. They can be developed. As kids, we're so open and intuitive. And if it's nurtured, sounds like you were nurtured with your gifts because it was just part of your family dynamic, then it's just continues to be with us. But for most of us, we're told to shut it down, or that's crazy, or that doesn't exist, or whatever. And so we start to close down. But I say, let's open it. Let's really be connected with how we receive information. Like it's a really powerful guide. And again, I feel like it's a guide to your truth, and your truth is going to look different than your sisters and your parents and your neighbor, your friends, even your partner. But when you honor that to me is freedom. Absolutely. That to me is like how we truly embody our power and inner peace, and what also allows us, if we want to live in abundance. So that's my invitation to all of you.
I love that so, so much. And Ana Lilia, how can people work with you now? Is there anything coming up?
Yeah.
Because it's shared soon. So is there anything coming up?
Yes. In like the third week of June, I'm launching my Soulful Entrepreneur Mentorship program. This is the second round that I do it, and I love it. So if you do have like an intuitive gift, if you're a coach, if you're a creative, just anything that your soul wants to birth into the planet, maybe you're already doing it, but you're struggling to have it be like financially sustainable, join it. It's a 3-month mentorship program. We go through like business fundamentals, if you will. So every week has a different curriculum, but then you also have access to my ideas, my suggestions. I feel like I'm also a really creative person. And so I love to combine people's like 9-to-5 job, like the skills that you have from whatever you've been doing in your previous career with your gift, and come up with this beautiful package. I'll give you a quick example. So I had a client that I was working with. She's been an HR manager for, 20 years, but she's really into tarot as well. And she's like a bruja and has this other secret life. And I'm like, you could combine both of these and help women leave their toxic job and use the magic to do readings on them, validate them, like open them up. When I gave her that suggestion, like I just saw her eyes light up. The other people in the group in the program as well were like, oh my gosh, this is perfect for you. So I have a lot of fun with that. I do it all the time whenever I step into a small business and I see them struggling a little bit. I'm like, oh, have you ever thought of doing this or that? So that's part of my magic as well that I love to share with entrepreneurs. And so I invite you to check it out. I also have a couple free offerings if you want to check out my energy a little bit more. It's a 3 steps to manifest your dream client. And then I also have a live event. So just go to my website. You'll have all the information there, analilia.net, or DM me on Instagram, and I would love to connect with you.
Gracias. Oh my God. I love you so much. I'm so glad you came. Thank you for sharing so openly, so passionately, and to really inviting us into our deepest healing, our most authentic life, our greatest joy. You are a treasure, un tesoro. Gracias, Ana Lilia. Everyone, follow her. Just go get the free goodies. Follow her on Instagram as well. What is your Instagram, if you want to share?
If you just search Ana Lilia, I should come up.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
And thank you all so much for being here. Mucho, mucho amor. Gracias por estar con nosotros. Bye bye, everyone. Gracias, Ana Lilia.
Adiós.